Disclaimer: the content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. And now...
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ben and Amy on The Heavy Truth.
Well, hello there. Welcome back.
Hi, welcome in.
Welcome to another episode of The Heavy Truth. I'm Amy.
I'm Ben. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Are you enjoying the warmer weather?
For the, 2 days we had?
Well, it's been kind of hot here at least, but now it's chillier again. So I welcome all the changes in the weather. I don't like it 90, 100. Like, that's just too hot.
Yeah.
I don't like
Makes
sweating.
you sweat. No,
No, I don't. We don't want to do that.
No, yeah, I do. All the sunny weather, get some vitamin D.
Yeah. So we are back in the studio today to do some more podcasts, and thought that it would be an interesting topic for Ben and I to talk about how we were taught about what we were taught about weight growing up and how it affected us then and now. So a little bit more of a maybe personal touch, and I don't know if there's going to be too many emotions. I'm kind of over that, but
Yeah.
I think
There won't be any tears. I'm not a crier.
Yeah.
Don't think that we need to pass the box of Kleenex around. No, none of that.
yeah, no, we're too tough for that. But there's people listening that this could really hit home, and we're hoping that's the case, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, we're talking about what we were taught about weight growing up, messages, the outcomes,
Right.
the
comments.
praise, any shame, all of it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's weight's always been a stigma, right? But again, I think it all begins. We learn it early on, right? It's about like what we see in our society, what is said to us, what we ourselves think about it, how we interpret it, what's said, how we interpret what we see, how we let what we see in the mirror, voices in our head, and how that all affects you, right? We look at our bodies, we think about weight, right? Going back, I mean, what is the first thing, you're born, right? And they immediately, your weight, your height, right? It's put on the little card, and it's, my baby was 8 pounds, 6 ounces, 9 pounds, 6 ounces, 10 pounds, 12 ounces, 4 pounds, 8 ounces, right? And that's where it begins, because I think society has a belief in our mind of what they think healthy should look like.
do you remember any early defining moment when somebody said something to you and you're like, oh, okay, well, I think they're referring to me being that overweight, or do you remember that?
No, I mean, I don't ever think I remember anyone ever saying something like, oh, you're fat, you're the fat kid, or whatever, or anything. I mean, so my family, I always had a nickname growing up when I was a little kid. And I think in many Hispanic families, you can see it. They say gordo, which is like, like a fat, right? Chubby. And
I'm going to start calling you that now.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't fit now. But,
Doesn't matter.
There's lots of things I can start calling you now, but I don't think I can say that on this not this episode of this podcast.
Until next time, folks.
Until next time. But I mean, I never looked at it negatively. Now I think I do look back on it negatively.
It was like endearing then.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, my name is Ben. So was my father's. So was my grandfather's. So it was, something that they called me, and I didn't think about it. But can't define a moment like in school or with teachers or neighborhood kids or anything where I was like, the fat kid. And I looked at pictures, looking at pictures of myself, even I remember, when I was, 6, 7, 8 years old, I wasn't the overweight child, or I didn't consider that, right? And I actually just saw a picture that a cousin of mine posted on Facebook about like, oh, I love my family. And it was a picture of he and I, and we are 1 year apart. And then our 2 younger cousins, the 4 of us in the picture. And I'm taller, but I'm not.
You're just of normal size.
Normal size, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how old were you?
I think that picture was probably when I was 7.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if I remember specifically any moments, but I do know a couple situations. One specifically. So I used to be in Bluebirds.
What is that?
It's like a knockoff version of like brownies.
Oh.
I know. I don't know. It was in our, it was a legit thing, but I mean.
Was it? Or
yeah.
were your parents just like, we're not paying for her to go to Brownies, so we're going to pretend she's in something called Bluebirds?
There was this a group of.
Go sell this shit door to door, Amy.
There was this group of kids all around the same age, girls in my neighborhood. And one of the moms was like our leader. So we had uniforms, we had like patches that we won. It was very similar. I haven't never looked back at it, but
was it just you guys right there? You people in that neighborhood doing Bluebird stuff?
yeah, between like the 2 houses, we go back and forth between the leaders' houses, and
seems very Sister Wives.
And then we would go,
cult-like.
And then we would go on field trips to get patches. Well, I remember one time going.
Let's go get butterflies.
I remember one time going to a nursing home and helping people. We got something for caring. I went to another one. We did good well cards, and we delivered them to the hospital, local hospital. And
Get well, don't die.
Right. So things like that. But my point being is I remember one of the main pages, and I still have it. It's like all about me. And I was like 6 or 7. And it was like, my height, my weight, and, just what I like and what I want to do. And weird, I wanted to be a nurse back then. I swear I was like 6 or 7. Anyway, of course, the first thing
you were then.
I know the first thing I see is
as
that
a Bluebird,
my weight, and I remember specifically, it was like 61 pounds. Okay,
I mean that
7.
seems. Oh, it's 7. I mean, is
something
that normal?
like that? But
I mean, I should see how that was weird.
Right.
Me saying is that normal because
Right.
there isn't. But you know what I mean.
But everyone else in my group, they had under 55. And I remember seeing that being like, oh,
she's the 99th percentile.
Should I like change?
Sorry, I
should I
mean to laugh.
change my weight? Right now I'm 7. So, I mean, it kind of started there. And I was never like super morbidly obese as like a child. It just kind of gradually went on.
The Bluebird leader, the head Bluebird called your mama, was like, ma'am, we need to order Amy's Bluebird size in the ladies and not in a toddler, petite, whatever.
And that happens to people.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
myself. That's one of the things I can remember too.
I didn't have to have that, but I did notice that everyone else weighed less than I did, and that goes all the way back to first grade.
Did they treat you differently, or did you take anything?
Not then.
You sold more cookies though, huh? Because you ate more.
We didn't sell cookies. No. We didn't do cookies. We can't take over the brownies.
So then what the hell did you guys push?
I don't know. We didn't push anything.
Oh, this sounds weird. That sounds very strange.
We will look it up later.
For any of
I'm
you.
looking it up right now.
Okay, Mike, tell us.
And it just says Amy's house and the next door neighbor's house, right?
So Bluebirds was a program within Campfire, not Girl Scouts. So they were
What is Campfire? Another BS
right now,
knockoff?
It's like a variation.
It has 150,000 youths in it now, currently, still. They renamed it to Starflight.
Oh, good Lord.
So what was it then? Just a variation of...
Yeah, it's just it was initially for girls, while Girl Scouts was... So it was founded in 1910 as the Campfire Girls, and then became... Campfire was founded in 1910 as a Campfire Girls, initially for girls, while Girl Scouts was founded later in 1912.
So, I mean...
Same kind of thing.
Same thing, I guess. Maybe without all the politics of Girl Scouts.
And without the cookies. So it doesn't sound like... Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that was probably the start of my defining moment, even though, again, I don't feel as though I was, had major issues with my weight, but it started.
Yeah.
So, but I do remember, people saying things, maybe not really nice things as I got older. What about you?
Yeah, I think it was that as well. I don't really have any things that started like that other than, like I said, looking back on the nickname, right? But it wasn't until I was in 7th grade or something like that, and I was in band, and we had to go and get dress pants or something for band, and I was all excited, and we had to go. Of course, this is going to date myself, right?
Sears.
Yes, we had to go to this Sears, and I had to get a size in the big and tall section to get pants. And I didn't think too much of it. And then also getting those jeans, the Wranglers Husky or the Lee's Husky, right? And they had the W on the back for like big,
Wide,
whatever, H or whatever. And I could remember being on the bus to school, and a girl who was one of my friends actually was like, "Why does your pants say like, I don't know, 38H on the back?" And I was like, "I don't know. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know." And I think that was, yeah, Hispanic. I think that was the first time, and I was excited being in band, blah. And I got the black pants, but now to stop thinking about it, we had to go to like the big and tall section, right? And yeah, but I didn't. I don't know. I guess for me, I don't think I ever let my weight control my actions or how I felt. I mean, I think people struggle with weight differently, and I know male versus female many times, right? Because how society looks at things and girls and blah, blah, blah. I was always very active, so I didn't stop to think about it. But I honestly can't, there's not a defining moment other than that, like that sticks in my mind, that 38 size waist pants. And that only sticks in my mind now because having lost the weight that I have lost, and I tell people, that I now wear a 34 waist, and to think to myself, this is the first time in my whole adult life that I've ever been able to wear that size. And the last time I could think of something comparable was when I was in 7th grade shopping for those pants. And that moment sticks out in my mind that they were 38s.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, that's telling just how past experiences can, not that they defined you, but you definitely still remember it. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, my family was not nice. I had not my immediate family, like they were fine. They loved me with food, but like my aunts and uncles and, they just old school and just call it out as it is. Yeah. Like, oh,
there's Fat Amy.
What?
There's Fat Amy.
Yeah, I don't think they actually ever went that bad.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe they did.
Maybe that was just me. My bad. No, I'm kidding.
But no, just like, chunky or chubby or, well, Amy's she just has extra weight. She's just chubby, but you don't want to get too big. You don't want to, you don't want to be fat, so.
Maybe they meant PHAT,
maybe
not FAT.
Maybe that's what it is,
yeah.
But I didn't take it that way. But
no.
So that was,
So was it hard for you, like once you got to the high school point and, then we start doing gym where you're supposed to shower and be in the locker room with the other girls and things like that. Was your weight, did you feel that whatever your weight was at that time was an issue with your friends, people at school? Was it ever a problem for you within your social circle or at school? I mean, you had a sister who was older than you, right?
Right.
Yes, older than you. And she was thinner. And she's a thinner. Yeah. She's a thin gal. Mm-hmm. For those of you that maybe follow her on TikTok and pick up all of her fashion sense and things like that, she's a thinner girl.
Fashionista.
Fashionista. That's
and
the word.
She always was. But so I was always, she was always fashion, and here I'm always, was heavier. And I don't say they're frumpy clothes, but I mean, you can't wear what you can wear when you're, 50 pounds, 70 pounds lighter. But my friends, I had great friends in high school. So all of us were very supportive of one another. But I do remember having to, if I could stay at a size 12.
When you were in high school?
In high school. I was happy with that.
Okay.
Once I would go up, then I knew that I needed to throttle it back a little bit, even though I know I should be lower than that.
Right.
But for some reason, I'm like 12, like that's fine,
Mhm.
you know. But then you start getting the extra large or the large gym shirts, or
Yeah.
you know, we didn't shower in high school.
Why?
We're not going to do that and mess up our hair, and I mean, barely put in the effort in gym class anyway. We didn't shower. Mike, you didn't shower.
No, the only time I showered was when we were in baseball.
Yeah, like you're in sports.
Oh.
You showered after gym class?
Yeah.
We didn't have enough time for that.
Yeah.
No. And plus, girl, do your hair, makeup. No, there's no time for that. You just have to change out of stuff and have extra deodorant and extra socks in your locker. And
No, we showered.
yeah.
Yeah.
Supervised showers.
Gang shower. Yeah, I always was up for that shower.
But yeah, so I mean, no, I mean,
But yeah, I understand that, right? I remember being in middle school and things that we all wore the same shirt or the same shorts, right? You had to order them. Your parents had to order them in middle school, not in high school. And we wore like a shirt that said had our middle school logo on it, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
And we had to
thing for us.
did you have to climb that rope? Did you have to do that where you have to climb a rope? And I, being the overweight child, I was overweight kid. I was like, my ass can't pull myself up that rope.
No, I couldn't pull this up the rope. I couldn't even do a knee hang, whatever, or a chin hang.
Chin up?
No, not chin up. No.
Oh, just the hanging one? Mm.
Yeah, you got to keep your chin above the bar.
You know, and for guys, and Mike, maybe you would know this. Producer Mike, were you a heavy set child? That's a weird word. Let me saying heavy set, right?
Right,
I
see?
apologize for any of these words that I say because,
Not in high school, no.
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 Okay. Well, at least for me being in high school, because I was always a bigger guy, broader shoulders, heavier. The football coach was always after me. Like, you should join the football team. You should join the football team. I had zero interest in that. I played tennis all through high school, and I was and still am a damn good tennis player. And so the funny thing is, that's the one thing I can remember too, is that at our tennis matches, there would the other team would always be like, "Oh, I'm first string singles. I'm going to be playing that fat kid," and they would play against me. I'd whip their ass, and then I'd be like, "Oh," and I'd walk by and I'd be like, "Oh, so you lost to the fat kid, huh?"
Wow.
Yeah. And the same thing with
you were mean back then.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And then then I was what they didn't know, right? But then I was also a black belt in Taekwondo, right? Since I was 16. And that was another thing, right? Because the fat kid, right? But the fat kid could do it. Just because I was fat doesn't mean I couldn't,
Couldn't move.
couldn't move. But I had zero interest in football.
Yeah. Well, it's too much of the wrong contact, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, my team, my high school only had a girls cheerleading squad, and I wanted to be part of that. So, but I couldn't because we didn't have a co-ed.
No, they do now.
So I
That's
did
good.
band and things like that. But yeah, so that was another stigma, right? Being in high school is that because I was a big guy, I should be on the football team, and I had no interest. To this day, football doesn't. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Interest for me.
Yeah,
I'll go to a game, but I'm going to the game to have a beer and a brat or whatever, but I'm not going to the game to watch football. Who cares? For me.
Yeah. I feel as far as growing up, people, even my family, my grandparents, it's funny, my parents were one thing. They said, finish your plate. Like you gotta eat all your food, right? But then I'd go to my grandparents' house, specifically my dad's mom, and she was a slender woman, and she'd say, this is all you get. You don't need any more, and you can only have one snack today, Amy. So that was her, know. So early on, I knew that I was a good
Grandma
girl.
was a 1950s kind of housewife where she had to stay thin for when the grandpa came home.
I mean, I think I don't know. I think she just naturally was like thinner.
Yeah.
Like, she just wasn't. It's not like she didn't eat or anything. But so I knew that if I ate more at home, I was loved with food at home. But if I ate less at my grandma's house, I did a great job that day. So
That's like that generational.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
right?
you just said that. So you saw food as love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that happens in a lot of families and cultures and everything, right? Because food is always associated with that. I always tell my patients when we talk about things like that, is like our society revolves around food, right? Someone gets married, there's a reception. Someone dies, there's a wake. Someone, sick, you're bringing something, you're bringing a casserole. You're celebrating at work,
Yeah, but we know that eating releases, those good endorphins too. Like that's science wise, we know that's good, but you don't have to. They don't have to. The two don't have to go hand in hand. Like you don't have to. I don't love you, and I'm gonna give you a cake. Can have love, show love by going out for dinner or not dinner. See, there I go again, going out for dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'll get you cake.
Okay, I want a cake.
Oh, that was the look. I said, I'm not getting you a cake. But like...
Give me a cake, bitch.
I got like the nastiest look and I'm like, am I not going the right direction here? Like what?
You're going farther away from the cake,
The cake.
Amy.
Oh my gosh. So,
Did I not just tell you that I was a fat kid? I mean... Doesn't mean I still don't want cake. Okay.
That is so funny. Truly, I'm like, wait, did I say something wrong? No, we're talking about cake and I left the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
We pushed, we were done with you in that conversation.
That's funny.
But I think culture plays a role.
Yeah. It does for
in
sure.
that as well, right? Because being Hispanic, right? There's another story. Like I think I've told you, I may have told our listeners, my family in Texas, my great grandparents lived at one end of the street, and then my aunts and uncles and things all lived down the street. As they got married, they moved there, and their children. There's still many of them still live in that same area, but it was like if you stopped at my great grandparents' house, my great grandmother's house, you ate something. She always had something, right? And then we would go visit my grandmother who lived, 3 houses down, and you still had to have something there. And then at my aunt's house next door, and then my godmother, blah, blah. And if you didn't, they were offended, right? And so that culture didn't add to me. But again, it was my choice what to eat, right?
Yeah, right. As well. No, absolutely. But again, you're always surrounded by food.
Yeah, but there's always that shift about some cultures, like prefer women to look a certain way or a male to look a certain way, right? I know many, and I'm not trying to generalize. This is what I've been told by many of my patients who are African American women. They immediately say, I don't want to be stick thin. I want to keep my curves. I want to keep this. A woman is not supposed to look like a stick, right? And then I have many women that they're overweight now and they want to look so, like you would, like people think they see in a magazine, I want to look like that. That's how I'm supposed to look. And I think culture plays a role in that if you're not curvy, you're not a woman. And if you're not built or muscular, that's what they think a man should be, with a 6-pack and blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I think, like you said, there is a stigma with it, and there's a just a certain way that people, everybody's different on how you think you should look or what somebody thinks somebody else should look. But,
But how do you unlearn those things? How do you unlearn what maybe has been programmed into you growing up, right? What people should look like, or how you think you should feel, or finish your plate, or eat less food to lose weight. How do you unprogram that in yourself?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it's just easier to understand because I learn about it. Like I know it, like I'm in it, and we've been in healthcare for so long now. So
300-400 years? Because I mean, you just said even when you were 6, you wanted to be a nurse.
Right. So that's why I'm such an amazing practitioner at this point now.
Who won't?
You guys have to realize how easy it is for us to do it, because we live it every day. Someone who just goes to see you guys once every 6 weeks, they're not living it every day. We get it reinforced every day, so it's a lot easier for us.
It is easier for us, and I agree. That's what I say. How do people that don't, have that reinforcement every day, And I guess you take it one step at a time, right? We all want to jump in and do everything. Quit smoking, quit drinking, lose weight, exercise, blah, blah, blah. And I think you need to begin slowly and give yourself the praise of the small accomplishments that we do, right? I always tell my patients, I give you big praise that your first accomplishment was making the decision that you needed to come and seek out professional help because you could no longer do it by yourself. Because we all want to try it by ourselves, right?
That's
we all
the
done
hardest.
all of the up and down and crazy diets and things like that before we decide what else can we do, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to admit that you need help. And oftentimes you want to ignore it, you know, or you go all in for a while and then you get bored with it and, you know, then you give up and, you know, it's that constant, like, I'm going to do it. All right, I'm gonna do it for a couple of days. Okay, now I'm not going to do it, you know, and then there comes a breaking point for most people, whether it's they can't fit into something or the scale or they are out of breath.
Something's coming. A wedding's coming. I don't want to buy that dress in that size, that tux in that size. I don't want to.
Right. So a medical event, as you know, Mike just said. So that usually,
but sometimes even those events don't change much when you come to that realization, right? I can remember going to a theme park and not fitting on a roller coaster, you know, and I waited in line for a long time. I got there, it wouldn't close. Of course, I played it off, ha ha ha. And then for many years, when we would go back to that same park, I would say, oh, I don't like roller coasters. They scare me, only because I had that apprehension of not fitting.
Right.
And so there was still that, even after with all of my weight loss, I went to that theme park for the first time, probably 4 years ago. And the first ride my friends wanted to go on was that roller coaster that I didn't fit on that time.
Yeah, wow.
Which was probably 20 years earlier.
Wow.
And I got up there and then I thought to myself, oh shit, this looks really scary.
I mean, we just went through
it'll
that
be all
together.
right, Amy? It'll be fine.
Yes.
And I fit and everything was great, but
Yes.
I still had that stigma in my mind. And
wait, were you truly nervous this last time that we went to the amusement park?
No, I knew I was going to fit. I had already been on that. No, not with
okay.
you.
Yeah.
No, girl. I was nervous that, girl, look at that ride.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thankfully it was dark.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have went on half of the ones I went on if it was light out.
Yeah.
But
and we had a couple of pre-games.
Yes, true. Fortunately, I was never. I always fit on the rides, so I wasn't large enough that I didn't fit on the ride. But
Amy, did you hear what she just said to me? Fortunately, I wasn't as large enough.
I wasn't as large as you.
Basically, she's calling me fatty.
I didn't.
Yeah.
But you know, everybody is.
I'm going to file that away so that way when I'm asked that question, like, can you remember a time? Yeah, I was doing a podcast with a colleague and she basically called me fat. Yeah.
I said I wasn't large enough to not fit.
Basically calling me fat.
Take it as you want to take it.
That's
God,
how it's
you're
taken. And please write in to let me know that I'm justified, people. Thank you. Write in. I know those of you that I'll send that petition around, you know, for me and Amy, you guys can all sign it. So
I mean, bottom line is,
Mike, can we get that put on a shirt? Yeah, for merch about Amy wasn't as fat or whatever she called me. Yeah, we'll play that back and get that.
You're such like this wilting wallflower. Like,
what were you saying now?
I'm saying is that healing takes time. So it's going to take time for everybody to, you know, learn and understand what healing looks to them. And some days are going to be good and some days are not going to be great.
It's going to be up and down.
Yeah,
It's never going to be perfect. And the thing is to try to fight. We have that voice in our head, right? That we always reflect back on, or that brings us back to that moment that you reflect when you didn't fit on the ride or your friend called you fat about talking about his stuff, right? I guess that was an emotional part. I guess I should have had a Kleenex here in case I was going to cry. Oh, okay. We'll hug after this. Perfect. Or have cake, even though she won't let us have it. But yeah, it does take time, and it's not an overnight journey, and it's never going to be perfect. And it's
like, I just always want to say is give yourself credit. You know, you should definitely celebrate the small wins and, you know, like Ben, like you said, for individuals that seek assistance with a professional, that is the best thing they can do, right? Is just admit that they need help, and that's what we're here for, is to help people.
Because we're quick to self-sabotage ourselves, which is something we'll talk about in a future episode.
Right.
And that inner voice is what makes us stop things or sabotages us very quickly, or that misstep in the day, then we want to give up. And my thought is never give up. It's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I say people, you're going to derail at some point, but just make sure you get back on track.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. You just don't want to continue to go down the wrong track. Just get back on the right one and keep moving forward. That's all.
There's always going to be a bump in the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially here in the Midwest with the snow, there's always a pothole or something here that we'll run into, right? So there's always going to be a bump in the road. So to think it's ever going to be a perfect journey, that's the hard part. So give yourself the slack to understand that it wasn't a perfect, you gained the weight that you gained, right? Forgive yourself, first of all. I think that's the biggest thing. And then realize that you can turn that around, but it's not going to be the perfect story you're telling yourself in your head.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, give yourself grace, right? But, as far as this episode.
And have that cake once in a while.
You do have to have a cake once in a while.
I mean, not with Amy, because clearly she won't give it to you, but, producer Mike and I will have cake.
I like sweets too. So, it is what it is. Everybody is, they're on their own journey, right? So if this episode is something that, hits home, or someone share it with them. And
I mean, I tried to share it with you, Amy, but you just threw it back at me. But
anyway, thanks for listening.
Thank you so
everybody.
much for listening to us.
This is another episode of The Heavy Truth. Please follow us on
Insta,
TikTok,
Spotify, all of them.
Facebook. And send in messages, comments.
Yeah. We'd like to read your comments, questions, concerns, anything.
Yeah.
Let them know how mean Amy is to me. Things like that. I think that's great.
Anyway, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Until next time.
See you soon. Bye. I'm Ben.
And I'm Amy.
And this is
The Heavy Truth.
Truth.